Good to have you with us. I am Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you so much for starting your Friday morning with us. We are going to begin this hour with the end of President Trump's summit in China. The president left Beijing earlier this morning after 2 days of highly anticipated talks with China's leader Xi Jinping. Before departing, Mr. Trump hailed, quote, fantastic trade deals with China and said a lot of different problems were settled, but no major deals or details were announced.
Throughout the summit, the two world leaders lavished praise upon each other, calling relations between the two countries the most important in the world. But Xi issued some harsh warnings for President Trump on Taiwan, saying that issue could, quote, put the relationship in great jeopardy. Other major topics of the summit included the global economy and the war with Iran. President Trump said both he and Xi want that conflict to end. President Trump was gracious to his host throughout the trip, repeatedly thanking Xi and extending an invite to the White House.
President Xi is going to be coming to the United States, and we will be reciprocal, like reciprocal trade. The visit will be reciprocal. You're going to walk away, hopefully very impressed, like I'm very impressed with China.
In a few minutes, we're going to bring you analysis on what we learned from this summit. But let's begin in Beijing with NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer. Janice, good morning. Good to have you with us again. So just tell us more about what unfolded on this second and final day of the summit.
Well, the second day had more warm words, Joe, between the two leaders, but also very little substance. President Trump went to Zhongnanhai. This is the beautiful compound near the Forbidden City that is the seat of power here. He had a private walk with China's leader Xi Jinping. They looked at trees and roses. President Trump later hinted at possible deals for aircraft, agriculture, and energy. There was more talk of cooperation, but really nothing was announced on tariffs or trade or appeared to be resolved with Taiwan. They really played up stability on this trip, but they fell short of presenting actual evidence of it. In my view, perhaps the only deliverable so far, President Xi has promised he would bring rose seeds for President Trump when he visits in September. Joe?
Yeah, and big development there with him being invited to visit. Janice, some of the sharpest language, though, that we heard from China's President Xi, it was on the issue of Taiwan. He warned President Trump first day of this summit that if the issue was, according to him, handled poorly by the U.S., there would be, quote, clashes and even conflicts, putting the entire relationship in great jeopardy. Tell us, Janice, what did the U.S. have to say about that? And more broadly, with what you mentioned a moment ago, and with that in mind, what we learned about the dynamic between these two leaders.
Well, for Beijing, Taiwan was the issue of this summit. But for the U.S. side, it wasn't even mentioned in the readouts. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio seemed to downplay it. Over the 2 days, we saw Xi Jinping really lean into this relationship with President Trump, who sees him as a friend, to try and make clear that there's no crossing the red line on Taiwan. And his warning sounded blunt after that grand welcome and all of the pleasantries and talk of cooperation. Beijing will continue to push the U.S. to either delay or scale back arms sales to Taiwan, and it will probably find its way onto the agenda when the two men meet next. The thing is, U.S. presidents have never discussed arms sales with China's leadership. That it's part of the U.S.-China conversation now is why there is some anxiety about a possible shift in U.S. support.
Janice, you mentioned no deals announced after this summit, but do you think the groundwork was laid for any potential future deals?
Well, President Trump talked of fantastic deals being made, and it's likely they are in the works. He did say there was an order for 200 Boeing aircraft, but that has yet to be confirmed by anyone at Boeing or the White House. Going into this summit, some agreements were expected for China to buy more soybeans, beef, and other ag products, as well as energy. Doesn't seem there was any progress made to ease the hold on rare earths or critical minerals. There were more than a dozen CEOs on the trip, and they held a meeting at the Great Hall of the People with China's Premier, Li Qiang. He's the second most powerful official in the country. It was there that I was able to ask NVIDIA Jensen Huang why he made this trip. And he told me it's an incredible opportunity to represent the United States and that he wants to support the president. And that was a theme with all of those CEOs there. Yes, they were looking for deals. They were looking for access and influence. But overall, they all said that they were there to support President Trump.
Janice, of course, the war with Iran, that was another key part of the summit, the Strait of Hormuz, and it's the impact on that part of the world. Walk us through what happened in discussion there, what they have to say about this conflict.
Well, this was the one area where the two men seemed somewhat on the same page. In remarks at Zhongnanhai, President Trump said they both believed Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, and they agreed the Strait of Hormuz needs to remain open. If Xi Jinping plans to use China's influence with Tehran, he certainly didn't telegraph it. The Chinese leader has been very careful to not appear too aligned with Washington on Iran. Iran, of course, is an ally of China. They are a key buyer of Iranian oil. For weeks, China has said that it wants the conflict to end, that a ceasefire must take hold, and that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open. But he didn't. He was very, very careful to not appear like he and President Trump had made some sort of deal between themselves on how to proceed with Iran.
All right, Janice, thank you so much.
Well, for more analysis on the summit, let's bring in Dominic Chu. He is an analyst for China and Northeast Asia at Eurasia Group. Dominic, good morning. Thank you for being with us. So we just heard there from Janice about some of the deals President Trump secured on his first visit to China in nearly a decade, or at least some areas of agreement that we heard about. Do you think it was a successful trip? What's your big takeaway?
Morning. Thanks for having me here. I think it is a successful trip insofar as the expectations were modest to begin with. The primary objective of this summit is to maintain stable relations, to maintain the good vibes between the two leaders, and to maintain what I think the Chinese are now getting on board with, the concept of a managed competitive relationship between the two great powers. Both sides know that they have these structural differences that will never be resolved or are very difficult to be resolved, but nevertheless, they acknowledge that communication, negotiation, discussion is now part and parcel of managing those differences, whether it is in technology competition, whether it is in trade, or whether it is in the strategic issues such as the war in Iran or over Taiwan. So I think if we use that as the benchmark for assessing whether or not the trip is a success, I would say that it is.
So President Trump, we know, praised his host throughout the summit, calling Xi a great leader, saying, quote, "We're going to have a fantastic future together." Does this summit just make that more likely? Realistically, what does it do for U.S. relations with China moving forward?
I think the relationship will continue to be dominated by those issues that I think Janice and others have mentioned. Trade is still a big issue. The U.S. We're all waiting for the Section 301 tariff investigations to conclude sometime later this summer. We are expecting the old tariff wall against China to be rebuilt in some fashion. It doesn't seem like this summit has successfully, if that is the benchmark, to eliminate tariffs between the two countries. But that was not the expectation to begin with. I think that as long as both countries realize that the two leaders are intentional to make stability the priority in managing the relationship between the two countries, that the deals, the individual small deals that we have discussed, agricultural purchases, Boeing aircraft orders, that could be continue to be worked on at the working level and at the level of individual companies.
Dom, as our colleague Janice had mentioned, the war with Iran seemed to be an area of agreement for the two leaders, and certainly the Strait of Hormuz, and them both expressing the desire, the need for that to be opened and to end this impact that we've seen on oil, on the economy. But what do you think happens from here? Do you think the president is actually going to get any help from Xi in getting that strait open back up?
I doubt so. I think the series of statements that President Trump claimed that President Xi has agreed to are pretty much the lowest common denominator that both countries can come to an agreement with, that Iran can never possess nuclear weapons, that the Strait of Hormuz should be free and open to all. Those are already official positions held by Beijing. They've been held since the start of the war in Iran, and they have not changed. What has changed is that now that both presidents agree to these statements, but the Chinese have not promised any concrete commitments to actually assist the United States in keeping the Strait of Hormuz open or pressuring Tehran to bring them to the negotiation table in earnest. And from that respect, I don't think the Chinese have committed to assisting the United States in any way.
All right, Dominic Chu, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Back in Washington, the Supreme Court issued a decision that preserves certain forms of access to the most commonly used abortion drug, mifepristone.
For now, the pill will continue to be available by mail and through telehealth appointments, even in states where abortion is banned. Yesterday, the justices extended a pause on a lower court ruling that attempted to severely restrict access while a lawsuit over the drug plays out in Louisiana.
For more, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona. Mel, good to have you with us. So we don't really know how or if the justices were split on this. This was not a traditional decision. It was an order, so the count is not public. But what are we learning about the decision and what comes next?
Yeah, good morning, guys. There has been a lot of uncertainty over the abortion pill over these past few weeks. And remember, it all stems from a lawsuit that the state of Louisiana is bringing against the FDA. And their argument has been that mail-in access to abortion should be illegal and banned because people in states like Louisiana, where abortion is illegal, they are using the mail and telehealth medicine in order to get around that ban. Now, initially, a lower court did essentially side with Louisiana, but the Supreme Court has stepped in to restore access through the mail to the abortion pill, at least while it considers the underlying case. So for now, mail-in access to abortion is safe. The big question, though, guys, is what the Supreme Court is ultimately going to rule on that underlying case. That could actually be much longer before we see a ruling there.
Mel, I want to turn to some other D.C. headlines. So the CIA released new photos last night. This is of a meeting between the director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, and Cuban officials in Havana. And just some context here with what's going on with Cuba. It's been in a serious energy crisis ever since the U.S. ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January because that cut off a critical oil supply for Cuba. Since then, President Trump has hinted at possible military action there, making comments like saying that Cuba could be next. How unusual was this meeting and what came out of it?
Yeah, quite unusual, quite rare, but President Trump has been really fixated on Cuba in the wake of Venezuela, and particularly he wants to see regime change in Cuba. That's also been a longtime goal of Secretary of State Marco Rubio. But a CIA official says the reason for this visit is that they wanted to go there, and they expressed that President Trump would be willing to offer both economic guarantees as well as some security guarantees, but only if there are, quote, fundamental changes that Cuba is willing to make. And meanwhile, the readout we got from the Cuban government is that they said that they are not a threat to U.S. national security and that they made clear during this meeting that there's no reason that they should be on a list of countries that sponsor terrorism. So it's really unclear what actually came out of this meeting, if there was any serious progress that was actually made. I should note that Cuban regime change has really been a non-starter for Cuba. And so the question now is what comes next. You did mention military action. That's something that Trump has technically not ruled out. But at the same time, according at least to White House officials or people close to the White House, people close to Trump, there is very little appetite for that route right now, especially as the administration is still dealing with Iran.
Mel, let's talk about your beat, Capitol Hill. Yet another war powers vote failed yesterday. This time it was in the House. It's the third time Republicans in that chamber blocked an effort that's meant to just compel President Trump to withdraw U.S. troops from the Iran war. Just like we saw in the Senate Wednesday, though, more lawmakers are joining this effort, trying to rein in the president's power. Real quick, tell us more about this vote.
Yeah, an extremely fascinating vote yesterday. This resolution technically did fail, but just barely. It was a tie vote, which constitutes a fail in the House. And when you look at the breakdown, it was quite interesting to see that there are some signs of waning support for Donald Trump's war with Iran among Republicans. There were 3 Republicans who voted in support of this resolution to rein in Trump's war powers. That includes Thomas Massie. He is someone who has consistently voted with Democrats on these resolutions. But then there were 2 new Republicans who also supported this resolution. That includes Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania and Tom Barrett of Michigan, both of them in extremely tough races. So I think it is just a sign that, at least in some parts of the country, this war with Iran and gas prices are becoming very politically toxic. Joan, Savannah.
Mel, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mother Nature has a weather medley in store over the next couple of days.
Angie Lassman's here with more on what we can expect with our morning news now forecast. Hey, Angie.
I like how you guys put that. A weather medley, a mixed bag. We've got a lot going on, a couple of spots that could potentially be some trouble spots for weekend plans. And even this morning, we're already getting things ramped up across parts of the Midwest. But it's this slow moving front that's going to kind of work across the plains today and really ramp things up as we get into the second half of our day, late into the the afternoon hours. Specifically, if you live across Iowa, I want you to be aware of this. Des Moines, Waterloo included in this enhanced risk, but more broadly, stretching all the way down into Texas, we've got the potential to see some of those stronger storms. It looks like the hail and the wind gusts are going to be the main threat. Tornado risk is on the low end, so that's always good news, but still the hail and wind, something that you're very much going to have to deal with across that region today. Meanwhile, we look ahead into tomorrow. Your weekend kicks off with more of these thunderstorms kind of firing up along that warm front, and we're going to see this kind of slight risk unfold once again across some of those same areas. So stretching across Iowa back to the west, you'll notice the hail, the wind gusts are main threats, and again, the tornado risk is going to be on the low end. So good news, at least for the threat of tornadoes. We're not going to have to watch for that. However, that severe outbreak not done as we get into Sunday. We have the potential to see it yet again. Multiple areas of intense storms are going to be possible. A couple of strong tornadoes also included in this. You can see that enhanced risk, including some of those same areas that are going to have to deal with it today and tomorrow into Sunday. We'll see the damaging hail and the wind gusts be possible as well. It's going to be kind of a bumpy go when it comes to the severe weather through at least the weekend, guys. Otherwise, we've got some warm highs that are in place. This is just one of the ingredients that's helping fire up some of those storms. But 95 in Wichita today, 76 in Peoria, high 80s in Minneapolis. Not so much along the East Coast, where temperatures are into the low 70s for Washington, D.C., and 54 degrees is all you're going to get in Boston today. Tomorrow, though, the warmth makes its way to the East Coast. We've got 80s for Philadelphia, high 70s for Detroit, upper 80s for Tulsa, and then we finish out our weekend and head into the next week with temperatures really ramping up. You ask and you shall receive. 91 degrees on Tuesday in New York City.
Wow.
We've got 96 on Monday in Richmond, 90s for Lexington early in the week. Pittsburgh, same story as well, with a high of 94 on Monday and 93 on Tuesday. So warm temperatures on tap for folks across the east. Our friends across the west, still no break in sight for them when it comes
So you're saying I'll feel the sun on my face, is what you're saying?
I think you might need a little extra sunscreen,
A little
Joe
extra
Fryer.
sunscreen. So
I
here's
see
the
this transformation.
Here's the story. Angie was my emotional support meteorologist yesterday when I went to shave this off. This is her taking video.
Yeah.
We went right here at 30 Rock, a place called Barbarino's, and yeah, there it is. 9 years. There's the mustache. A brief moment of mustache.
Am I into the mustache?
And then the
I made
grand
him do the
reveal.
mustache, and I kind of liked
Yeah, wait, I kind of like the mustache.
All right, so
Was that a consideration?
No, not at all.
No, I
do
just
that.
forced him to do that.
We should have
Tom Selleck
gotten
moment.
Bob's for today or something. You know,
No. Okay, I'll let you do that.
Throwing everyone off.
It looks great, though.
Thank you so much. And next hour, we're going to have, there's my reaction, my genuine reaction. We'll have Savannah's reaction next hour when she saw it this morning.
Into the makeup room. I was blind without glasses. I'm like, who is this and what are you saying to me?
My mother just saw it for the first time here on TV, and she just texted me. She approves. She liked the
approves.
beard, but she
Well,
approves. So.
If Mom
Cute.
approves, then
There you go.
everybody approves.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Angie.
You got it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.